They found it on a Tuesday. Dr. Sarah stared at the monitor in the dimly lit control room of the Pacific Marine Research Station, her coffee growing cold in her hand. The screen displayed a waterfall of data cascading down in luminous green columns, sonar readings, seismic measurements, electromagnetic frequencies. But one pattern refused to blend into the background noise of the ocean floor. "Run it again," she whispered to her assistant, Flip Webb, a young oceanographer whose enthusiasm usually filled the room. Tonight, he was silent. The computer processed the request. Seconds later, the same sequence appeared, a rhythmic pulse originating from the Mariana Trench, 11 kilometers below the surface. Not random, not natural. Structured, mathematical. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs. In 20 years of deep-sea research, she'd cataloged countless phenomena: hydrothermal vents, bioluminescent creatures, underwater volcanoes. This was different. This was intentional. "How long has this been transmitting?" she asked. Flip scrolled through the logs. "According to our autonomous sensors, 3 weeks. But Sarah, look at this." He pulled up a secondary analysis. "The signal's frequency is shifting. It's getting stronger. Whatever's down there, it's waking up." Within 48 hours, the United Nations convened an emergency session. Within a week, Sarah found herself standing on the deck of the Endeavour, a research vessel equipped with humanity's most advanced deep-sea exploration technology. Her team of 6 had been hand-picked from across the globe. Flip, her loyal second-in-command, Dr. Yuki Kanaka, a Japanese engineer who designed their submersible, Commander James Okafor, a Nigerian Navy veteran responsible for their safety, Dr. Dmitry Volkov, a Russian physicist obsessed with electromagnetic phenomena, and Dr. Amara Patel, an Indian xenobiologist whose theories about extraterrestrial life had once been ridiculed by the scientific community. Now, those theories didn't seem so absurd. The submersible, christened Orpheus, detached from the Endeavour at dawn. Sarah watched through the reinforced viewing port as sunlight surrendered to darkness. First, the vibrant blues faded to deep indigo. Then, even that vanished, replaced by a blackness so complete it felt solid. "Passing 2,000 meters," Yuki announced, her fingers dancing across the touchscreen controls. The cabin lights cast a soft red glow, preserving their night vision for whatever lay ahead. Commander Okafor checked their systems for the 3rd time. Hull integrity nominal, oxygen reserves at maximum, communication link stable. But as they descended further, the radio crackled with static. The connection to the surface vessel weakened, then died entirely. "That's impossible," Dmitry muttered, adjusting his instruments. "We're using quantum-encrypted channels. Nothing should interfere with—" He stopped mid-sentence, staring at his readings. "The electromagnetic field down here, it's off the charts. Something's generating a massive amount of energy." 3,000 meters, 4,000. The pressure outside could crush steel like paper. Inside Orpheus, the recycled air tasted metallic. Amara broke the tense silence. "What if we're not ready for this? What if whatever's down there doesn't want to be found?" "Then why send a signal?" countered Sarah, though doubt gnawed at her certainty. At 7,000 meters, they encountered the first anomaly. "Contact!" Yuki's voice sharpened. "Something big directly below us." The external floods blazed to life, piercing the abyss. What they revealed defied comprehension. Structures, massive geometric formations rising from the ocean floor like the skeleton of a drowned city. But these weren't ruins shaped by human hands or natural processes. The architecture was organic yet crystalline, surfaces that seemed to pulse with faint internal luminescence. Spiraling towers twisted upward, their surfaces covered with patterns that hurt to look at. Symbols that shifted when observed directly, as if existing in more dimensions than the human eye could process. "My God," Flip breathed. "It's a city, an entire city." Yuki guided Orpheus lower, navigating between structures that dwarfed Earth's tallest skyscrapers. The craftsmanship was exquisite and alien. Bridges of translucent material connected buildings, their surfaces rippling like disturbed water despite the crushing pressure. Gardens of crystalline formations sprouted from plazas, though whether they were decorative or functional remained unclear. "Look at the degradation patterns," Dmitri observed, his earlier skepticism replaced by awe. "This place is ancient. I'm talking geological scales, tens of millions of years minimum." 65 million, Amara said quietly, her eyes locked on a particular structure. "Look at the sediment layers. This city was built during the Cretaceous period." The implications crashed over them like a tidal wave. When dinosaurs roamed the Earth's surface, something else had colonized its oceans. Something intelligent, something that had remained hidden through the entire span of human evolution.
They landed in what appeared to be a central plaza. Through the thick viewing port, Sarah observed bioluminescent organisms drifting past, deep-sea creatures attracted to their lights. But among them swam other things. Mechanical entities, perhaps, or beings that blurred the line between organic and artificial. They resembled jellyfish constructed from fiber optics and liquid metal, their movements graceful and purposeful. "Are those drones?" Okafor asked, his hand instinctively moving to the emergency ballast release. "I don't think so," Amara replied, face pressed against the glass. "I think they're alive, or something between alive and machine, a synthesis we can't classify." The signal that had drawn them here intensified. It emanated from a structure at the plaza's center, a dome constructed from material that seemed to exist in a state of flux, solid and liquid simultaneously. "We need to go inside," announced Sarah. "Absolutely not," Okafor countered. Our protocols didn't account for finding an alien civilization on our own planet," Sarah interrupted. "That signal is an invitation or a warning. Either way, we need to know." After heated debate, they reached a compromise. Sarah, Amara, and Dmitri would don the experimental deep-pressure suits and venture outside. The others would monitor from Orpheus, ready to execute emergency extraction if necessary. The suits were marvels of engineering, flexible yet capable of withstanding pressures that would liquefy human tissue. Sarah's breathing echoed in her helmet as the airlock cycled. Then the hatch opened, and she stepped onto an alien world that happened to share her planet. The sensation was surreal. Her boots, if they could be called that, made contact with a surface that yielded slightly, like walking on a living membrane. The structures around them thrummed with energy, creating harmonics she felt in her bones rather than heard. They approached the central dome. Up close, its surface displayed moving images. No, memories. Scenes flickered past, massive vessels descending through Earth's atmosphere millennia ago. Beings that defied description constructing the city. Those same beings watching as primitive mammals scurried through prehistoric forests. "They were here first," whispered Sarah through the comlink. "They watched us evolve, watched us grow, and we never knew." As if responding to her voice, the dome's entrance dilated. An opening appeared, revealing an interior suffused with soft, pulsating light. They entered. The chamber defied Euclidean geometry. Walls curved in impossible directions. The ceiling, if it was a ceiling, seemed to contain entire galaxies, though whether they were decorations, windows, or something else entirely remained unclear. At the center of the room floated a sphere of crystalline material, roughly 3 meters in diameter, suspended by no visible means. As they approached, the sphere activated. Light exploded outward, not blindingly, but encompassing. Sarah felt it pass through her, not harmfully, but searchingly, as if something ancient was learning who she was in the span of a heartbeat. Then the light coalesced into a projection, a hologram, though far more sophisticated than any human technology. It showed a being,
bipedal but elongated, with 4 arms and a head that housed sensory organs, bearing only passing resemblance to eyes or ears. Its skin, if skin was the right word, seemed to flow like liquid mercury across an underlying structure of living crystal. When it spoke, they didn't hear words. Instead, concepts flooded their minds directly, bypassing language entirely. "Welcome, descendants of the third evolution." Sarah's knees weakened. Beside her, Dmitri gasped, and Amara wept openly. "We are the architects. We came to your world when it was young and violent, when great beasts ruled the surface. We built our cities in the deep, where we could observe without interfering." "Why?" managed Sarah to project the thought. "Why hide? Why watch?" "Because we had done it wrong before. On other worlds, in other times, we intervened, we shaped, we guided, and in doing so, we destroyed what made those species unique. We vowed not to repeat that mistake." The projection shifted, showing different worlds, beautiful planets with sprawling civilizations that bore the architect's aesthetic. Then collapse, civil wars, technological catastrophe, extinction, all because a young species had been given too much, too soon, by well-meaning but misguided benefactors. "So we watched your ancestors. We watched as the great extinction came, the asteroid that ended the age of giants. We watched as small mammals inherited the world. We watched as you discovered fire, invented language, built civilizations. We watched you reach for the stars." "Then why reveal yourselves now, after 65 million years of silence?" The hologram flickered. For the first time, Sarah detected something like emotion in the projection. Sorrow, perhaps, or fear. "Because you are in danger, and the danger comes from us."
The sphere pulsed, and new images flooded their minds. Data streams showed the Earth's rising temperatures, acidifying oceans, melting ice caps. But overlaid on this environmental data was something else: ancient systems activating throughout the global ocean floor. The architect's cities, dormant for millions of years, responding to changes in their environment. Our cities were built with safeguards. If the ocean's chemistry changed beyond certain parameters, if temperatures exceeded specific thresholds, our automated defense systems would activate. Defense systems? Amara's voice cracked. Defense against what? Against planetary catastrophe. Our technology was designed to stabilize Earth's climate, to prevent another mass extinction like the one that ended the Cretaceous period. But the systems were calibrated for a different world, a world without your industrial civilization. Understanding dawned like a nightmare. Sarah felt her stomach drop. "You're saying your defense systems think human activity is the threat. They're preparing to neutralize us." "Yes, in 14 of your days, the protocols will complete activation. The systems will release engineered organisms into the ocean, organisms designed to rapidly absorb excess carbon, cool the waters, rebalance the chemistry. But the process will be violent. It will trigger tsunamis that will devastate every coastline. It will alter weather patterns globally. It will render your oceans toxic to your current marine life for generations. Billions of your kind will perish. Your civilization will collapse. The Earth will be saved, but humanity will be reduced to a fraction of its current population, scattered and struggling to survive." The chamber fell silent except for their ragged breathing. "Can you stop it?" Sarah demanded. "You built these systems. You must have override codes, fail-safes?" The hologram dimmed. "We are not here. What you see is a recorded consciousness, an echo preserved in crystalline memory. The architects left this world 3 million years ago, believing our work complete, our safeguards foolproof. We did not anticipate a species that would industrialize so rapidly, that would burn through millions of years of stored carbon in mere centuries." "Then give us the information,"
Dmitri shouted. "Technical specifications, system architecture, something we can use to shut it down." The systems span the entire ocean floor. Thousands of nodes, interconnected, redundant. To deactivate one is to trigger failsafes in others. To destroy them would require nuclear weapons beyond your current arsenal, and such an attack would cause the very catastrophe you seek to prevent. Despair settled over them like the crushing weight of the ocean above. "So that's it?" Amara asked, voice hollow. "You're telling us we're doomed? That there's nothing we can do?" The hologram brightened slightly. "There is one possibility. The systems measure environmental parameters constantly. If they detect sustained improvement, significant reduction in ocean temperatures, measurable decrease in acidification, reversal of critical trends, they will enter a dormant state, continuing to monitor but not intervening." "How much improvement?" Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer would be devastating. "Reduction to pre-industrial levels within 7 of your years. It is unlikely your civilization could achieve this without radical transformation." "Unlikely?" Dmitri laughed bitterly. "It's impossible. You're asking us to reverse 200 years of industrial development in 7, to convince every nation, every corporation, every person to completely restructure society? We can't even agree on the problem, let alone a solution of that magnitude." "Then you must choose. Attempt the impossible or face the inevitable."
They returned to Orpheus in silence. The others sensed immediately that something fundamental had changed. Sarah briefed them, her voice mechanical as she recounted the architect's warning. For hours they debated, argued, shouted, wept. "We have to tell them," Flip insisted. "The UN, the governments, everyone. Give them the technical data. Let them try to shut down the system." "That will cause global panic," Okafor countered. "Economic collapse, martial law, possibly nuclear war as nations blame each other for triggering this." "And what's the alternative?" Amara challenged. "We sit on this information and watch the countdown to doomsday?" "We could lie," Yuki suggested, quietly. Everyone turned to her. "We report that we found ancient ruins but no active technology. Buy ourselves time to work on solutions without triggering mass hysteria." "Solutions that don't exist," Dmitri reminded her. "The architects themselves said the system can't be safely dismantled." Sarah had remained silent, staring at the data they'd extracted from the crystalline sphere. Terabytes of information, technical specifications, historical records, scientific principles beyond human understanding. And buried in that data, a glimmer of something else. "There might be another way," she said slowly. "The architect said the system responds to environmental parameters. What if we don't try to shut it down? What if we convince it we're part of the solution, not the problem?" "Explain," Okafor demanded. "The system is monitoring for planetary health markers, temperature, acidity, biodiversity. What if we could demonstrate rapid, genuine progress on those fronts? Not pre-industrial levels, that's impossible, but significant, measurable improvement. Show the system that humanity is capable of change, that we're actively healing the damage." "That still requires massive global cooperation," Flip pointed out. "Yes, but it's more achievable than reversing 2 centuries of industrialization. And we have something previous generations didn't. Proof. Undeniable physical evidence that we're facing extinction if we don't act." "The ruins," Amara realized. "We bring back samples, images, data. Proof that we're not alone, that our actions have consequences we're only beginning to understand." "It's still a long shot," Dmitri said. But for the first time since entering the architect's chamber, Sarah heard hope in his voice. They voted. 6 individuals deciding the fate of billions. The weight of it nearly crushed them. The decision was unanimous. Orpheus began its ascent as alarms sounded throughout the city below.
The architect's systems, detecting human presence, accelerated their activation sequence. They had 14 days. Now they had 10. During the long climb back to the surface, Sarah composed her report. She didn't sugarcoat the danger or oversell humanity's chances. She simply told the truth. An ancient civilization had built safeguards to protect Earth, and human activity was about to trigger those safeguards with catastrophic results. But there was a window, narrow, closing rapidly, to prove humanity could change. The hardest part was deciding what to include. The technical data from the architects could revolutionize human science, but it could also be weaponized, misused, hoarded by nations or corporations. In the end, she encrypted most of it, keeping only what was necessary to verify their claims and demonstrate the threat. As Orpheus broke through the final pressure layers and sunlight, blessed, forgotten sunlight, penetrated the viewing port, Sarah felt tears streaming down her face. Above them, the surface churned. The Endeavor waited. Beyond it, a world blissfully unaware that its existence teetered on the edge of a knife. "What do you think will happen?" Flip asked, watching the surface approach. Sarah considered the question. She thought about humanity's capacity for denial, greed, and short-sighted thinking. But she also thought about its capacity for innovation, cooperation, and sacrifice when truly challenged. "I don't know," she admitted, "but for the first time in my life, I understand why the architects watched us for so long. We're chaos and beauty, destruction and creation, all wrapped into one unpredictable species. Maybe that's our strength. Maybe that's enough." Orpheus breached the surface. The hatch opened. Fresh air, tinged with salt and diesel fumes, and all the complex scents of human civilization, rushed in. Sarah climbed out onto the deck, squinting in the afternoon sun. Captain Rodriguez of the Endeavor approached, face creased with concern. "Dr. Sarah, what did you find down there?" Sarah met his eyes. Behind him, the ocean stretched to the horizon, deceptively peaceful, hiding depths and secrets and sleeping giants that dreamed of salvation through destruction. "Everything," she answered. "We found everything, and now we have to figure out what to do about it." The report went viral within hours of its release. Governments convened emergency sessions. Scientists worked around the clock to verify the data. Skeptics demanded proof. Believers demanded action. And the world descended into a frenzy of debate, fear, and finally, slowly, haltingly, cooperation. 7 years later, Sarah stood once again on the deck of a research vessel, this time above the Mariana Trench. In her hand, she held a tablet displaying real-time environmental data. Ocean temperatures had stabilized. Acidification levels showed measurable improvement. Carbon emissions had dropped by 63%, not enough by the old standards, but enough to matter. Below, the architects' cities continued their eternal vigil. Their defense systems paused, watching, waiting, to see if humanity could maintain its progress or would slip back into old patterns. The signal from the deep had gone quiet, but Sarah knew it was still there, dormant but not dead. A reminder that Earth belonged to more than just humanity, and that they were the newcomers in a much older story. She tossed a wreath into the water, a memorial for the architects, for the choices they'd made, for the burden they unwittingly placed on a species that barely understood itself. The ocean accepted the offering in silence, and far below, in the crushing darkness, ancient machinery continued its calculations, adjusting, recalibrating, giving humanity one more day to prove itself worthy of the planet it called home. One more day. It would have to be enough.